Hello and welcome to my patch notes rundown for the 29th of March. This week is a big one. We've all been eagerly waiting for this huge PVM quality of life update since December when ModPy started working on it. It's Pymus. I've been so excited for this update and I can definitely say that it held up to my expectations. Without further ado, let's get right into it. The area loot interface now no longer closes while moving around, updates every 1.2 seconds, and allows for auto-retaliate to work. This is practically huge, since whenever you're doing high intensity Slayer, you're usually moving around a lot, and whenever you're doing AFK combat, you usually have auto-retaliate on. This further incentivizes looting during Slayer, as well as making AFK methods considerably easier. A new unlock is available from War's Retreat, which resets ability cooldowns when using the Altar of War. This is so nice, where at a lot of bosses you would only be able to Excalibur once every 2 kills rather than consistently every kill, or in situations where you use Limitless Sigil at the end of the kill as well as at the start of the kill, so you would have to wait some time at the bank before it's ready again. You can't use this effect while having a dummy out, and currently it doesn't reset Zaros Godsword cooldown. Revolution Combat Mode will now use abilities faster after a channeled ability is used. Basically, what has happened with this change is that channeled abilities, including auto-retaliate, are performed 0.6 seconds faster than before. Channel abilities now match the perfect execution of manual timing, but both snipe and detonate are still delayed by 0.6 seconds compared to manual. You can now adjust the size of the buff and debuff bar icons. I really like these additions alongside interface scaling. I might switch to medium-sized icons myself, but probably won't touch the large icons since the numbers are centered and cover the icon. Dragon Breath will now prioritize your main target as well as performing the usual AoE. Interesting to note that Dragon Breath will normally hit a maximum of 3 targets, but with this change it can hit up to 4 targets including your main target, but only if your main target isn't part of the first 3 targets hit. Ingenuity of the Human will no longer be triggered by non-ability attacks. The Sigil effect will no longer be used up when your Crackling or Aftershock perks proc. This used to be a very frustrating experience as it would snipe your guaranteed SGB or Statius Warhammer spec, wasting a long cooldown and a large amount of adrenaline. The time you can perform an ability after using snipe is now correct. Previously you were able to snipe in 1.8 seconds using queuing, but now it's been reverted to the normal 2.4 seconds. The quick prayer menu will no longer disappear after activating via right click. This still bugs out on your first use on login, but after you toggle it once it should work fine. The Crackling perk now triggers on the next ability or auto attack after the cooldown ends. Your first Crackling perk is on a 1-minute timer when you log in, on the same timer as when your stats update. This was always thought to be random, but with this new information it allows players to manipulate their Crackling procs. For example, with just under a 2-minute stall, players are able to get off 2 Crackling procs back to back. However, this has no worthwhile use. Casting Spellbook Swap will no longer cause a sudden FPS lag. Holy moly, I can't express how nice this feels. One of my least favorite aspects of using Mage was having to constantly use Spellbook Swap, and having this feel so much nicer is a huge plus. These 2 changes have been delayed to hopefully next week, but I've decided to cover them this week along with the rest of Pymus. Just to clarify, these changes are not yet in game. The check charge message in filtered chat during combat will now have a 5-second cooldown to prevent the chat box from being spammed. I think chat box filtering is really important for all manners of playing RuneScape, It allows for easier social interactions, for skillers to spot notifications, and for PvMers to detect mechanics through boss dialogue. The next feature that I would like tackled are the global broadcast messages. The needle strike buff will now apply to the target it was used on and last for the correct length of time. The first part of this change is if you switch targets when you needle strike, you will have a 10.8 second buff on the target you switch to, which is yet not in game. The second part of this change is where the buff used to last 0.6 seconds after your first damaging ability, which allowed players to stack hits like Snipe Snapshot, but now this has been changed to 0 seconds, which means you have to stack the hits on the same tick, and only works on the first hit of rapid fire. And that's it for this week's patch notes. These are pinnacle steps in making combat in RuneScape more fun and less frustrating. Ultimately, I think these core quality of life updates are essential to everyday enjoyment of the game. Anyways, that's it from me. Thank you for watching and take care.